Hey,
Hello.
welcome back, everybody, to Geek Out here in Old Town Burleson. As always, I'm your favorite bearded hero, Charles, and this is my sidekick, Chandler.
Hello.
We are here to do a quick shot on new DC books for tomorrow, and then we are going to get into the weekly Charles and Chandler Show, which bear with us because between the books and the show, we're going to start some audio recording and see what we can do and possibly upload this as a podcast. And
Yeah.
people who listen to it as a podcast don't want to hear about this week's books because they can't see them. So
True. That's fair. Yeah.
So between the two sections of the show, Chandler will do a little dance to entertain you while I'm playing with the clicky things. He won't actually dance.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
But
I dance on myself.
So thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll jump straight into the weekly books for DC. First, by Mr. Chip Zdarsky himself,
The best.
Batman 127. This is a very dark. It's a Bermeo cover, right?
I don't think it's Vermeer. I think it might be somebody else.
If it is, it looks a lot like his stuff. But either way,
yeah. I think
very
it's
cool.
Sharp.
It might be, yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah. Here is your entertaining Harley Quinn 30th anniversary cover.
Yeah, a lot of those.
Yes, we are very much in a Harley Quinn 30th anniversary. And then here is yet another variant for Mr. 127.
Yeah.
And if you're not reading this, if you're not reading this this story arc, Chip Zdarsky took over at 125, and Batman went from being a okay book right now to super awesome. So
it's so good now.
It really is.
That's good.
And if you can get Superboy to say that, then it's a good book.
Yeah.
And you have this very beautiful 1 in 25 Selena Kyle. Yeah. I mean, just look at how just amazingly beautiful that cover is.
That is the one she's got the hair out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always just thought that was a cool look.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we've got Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. Because Dark Crisis wasn't a good enough title, we had to change the name to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue 4.
Nostalgia and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got a beheaded Flash mask, and looks like some Hawkeye stuff going on. So
Hawkman.
Hawkeye.
So what are you doing?
Today is Hawkman Day.
Yeah.
There's a Wonder cover with Wonder Girl and Wonder Woman, and
Wonder Girl's actually great.
Is that Doomsday? It looks
it looks
like a Doomsday.
They make a lot of them nowadays.
Yeah.
Darkseid's made like armies of them and stuff. This is probably one of them. Yeah.
Next, adding on to Mr. The Rock's movie, Black Adam, Justice Society Files, Atom Smasher #1.
A character that no one thought about in like 70 years. Yeah.
But
not a bad character.
Apparently, we need a supporting cast for The Rock. So
they ran out of ideas after Hawkman and Dr. Fate.
Fair.
Yeah.
Next, this is an all ages book, which is going to be pretty fun. You got Batman Night Watch. So you got Batgirl, Robin, Batman, all in there. So you're getting an all ages, and it even kind of brings back that's a cross between like the animated series Batman and like the 40s Batman Batmobile. Yeah. No, that was the 50s Batmobile that had the
like the face on it.
Yeah, the face.
I like having the face on it.
I think it's
great branding.
It is great.
Remember Joker also had a car that also had his face on it?
Yes.
That's great stuff.
It was great. And see them at each other. It's pretty fun.
I don't have Goofy Joker anymore.
No, man. Yeah. Everybody takes him too seriously now.
Yeah. He's just a clown.
He is.
Literally.
Next, we've got, let's go with the A cover first on this one. Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms #1.
It's a really good book.
Dark Knights of Steel is a lot of fun. This is about kiddo superheroes.
Yeah.
In medieval age.
Yeah.
Tom Taylor, right?
Yes, Tom Taylor.
Good.
He's so good.
Yep.
A beautiful Dan Mora cover.
You got the B cover with baby bats.
Yeah. A big old sword.
With a sword too big for him to lift. And you've got this beautiful 1 in 25.
Who doesn't love Supergirl?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next, you got Flashpoint Beyond, #5 of 6. So we're almost done with Flashpoint Beyond.
That one's Azzarello, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, no, it's Jeff Johns.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, look at you doing stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Probably could have left Flashpoint alone, but we don't get enough Thomas Wayne, so I'll take Thomas Wayne when I can get him.
I feel
Thomas Wayne's pretty cool. Pretty cool Batman. Next, you've got Miss Poison Ivy.
It's a really
Number
good
4.
cover.
It's a beautiful cover.
Really, really good. Yeah.
And that's Poison Ivy number 4. And you've got her lady friend.
The Harley Anniversary.
Harley Anniversary cover.
Really good cover, too.
It was a really good cover.
Yeah.
They're all like in roller derby gear, which is even cooler.
No
I love some roller derby. I used to coach roller derby.
shit.
It's fun.
Huh. Okay.
It's crazy,
Learn something new every
but
day.
it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Next, the new champion of Shazam.
Mary Marvel. Are they
Issue
allowed to call her
2-4.
Marvel anymore?
I think they do.
I think they still do for her
I think
specifically.
they do for her because she has a different name.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. I like Mary Marvel. I like that that's her name. They should not change it.
variant, very cute. It's got a bunny.
Yeah. It's got a bunny. Yeah, no. It's a little electric bunny. Yeah, it's like a whole thing.
Next you got Sword of Azrael, number 2 of 6.
Azrael is awesome.
Azrael is awesome.
Yeah. Dan Waters is a great writer too.
He was the coolest Batman.
Nah,
He was a bad Batman. He was a terrible
He's
Batman,
terrible Batman.
but he was cool.
I don't know if he was the coolest. I really like
Dude,
Nightwing
that suit-
Batman when he's like that. It's the best.
But the Asbat suit, it's pretty awesome.
It's yeah.
pretty awesome.
It's something, that's for sure.
It's super 90s, which
Yeah. It's got a lot of spikes on it.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Spikes, chains, all that jazz.
and you got a variant
Yeah.
where he's all in a medieval suit.
That
Very
one's
cool.
great.
That one does look great.
I love that one.
And last but not least for the comics, you got Batman Dear Detective. That's Bermeo.
Yeah, that's Bermeo.
And
Yeah.
that is in a Prestige XL format. So if you want to have to buy a different comic box to keep your fancy books in, then here you go, because you have to buy a different comic box to keep these fancy ones in.
That's how they get you.
I like the
Yeah.
Prestige XL format for
I do too.
reading and an artist point, but from a collector standpoint, they drive me batty.
No, right? And there's a lot of really good ones.
They have started, so they
Yeah.
actually, they were barely doing any.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, oh, great, how I'm going to collect this magazine format book.
Yeah.
But Spikes and Chains are in.
I mean, they were for a long time.
But
Too long.
But they've actually started doing enough of those so that it's like, okay, I can buy a magazine box. It's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah.
because they were doing so few at one point, and you buy a magazine box and it's like, look, I've got 3 comics in my magazine box.
There's always at least one ongoing one right now.
There
basically.
is.
Yeah, like there's always one.
Is that issue 1 for the last Batman? Yes, that is issue 1 for Dear Detective on Batman.
Yeah.
Brad, if you want us to throw one in, we throw one in your box. We can put your name on one, bud.
I think it might just be a one shot actually.
Is it?
Think about it.
It might be.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, it is. But either way, we'll throw your name on it, Brad.
Yeah.
As for trade paperbacks for this week, we've got
Superman.
Action Comics Volume 2, covers 1036 through 1042. So
Old stuff.
and also Tales of Metropolis and Martian Manhunter: A Face in the Crowd. So cool.
It's great stuff. It's a good run.
The Arena is the story arc.
That's a really, really good run.
It is.
Yeah.
And then you've got Robins.
That was the round robin book, wasn't it?
I believe so.
I think it's this one. Yeah.
Yep. And that is round robin DC winner.
Yep, there it is. Yeah.
Yep. The Secret History of Robin. And you got Red Robin, Red Hood, Nightwing, Robin, all the Robins.
Everybody who's been a Robin.
Have you been a Robin
Probably-
in this book?
They probably left Stephanie out. Because I'll never get over that.
Probably left Carrie out too.
Yeah, well, she doesn't exist yet, technically, or whatever.
True.
So that one's
Yeah,
I'm not bothered.
I'm cool with that.
So Stephanie did, and they just went, nah,
Nah.
let's just forget
yeah.
that happened, guys. It's the
Yep.
worst.
So
Tim was
that's-
only Red Robin. DC, you make me so mad.
So that does it for the books this week. So bear
Yeah.
with me for about a minute or two. Don't do that. It's fragile.
No, it's not. It's a phone.
So let's see. Do. Okay.
So Superman's pretty good, and that's what we're gonna be talking about.
Superman is pretty good.
He's
and
pretty
that's what-
awesome.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna start our introductions one more time for those of y'all bear with us. I'm your favorite bearded hero, Charles, here at Geek Out in Old Town Burleson, Texas, with my sidekick Chandler. And today we are going to be discussing all of the film versions, to include TV because film was pretty short, of the big blue Boy Scout Superman.
The best. He's the greatest.
Sure he is.
He totally is. First superhero.
Well, I mean, he does. He was the OG superhero, so
yeah, first of his kind.
We can definitely. Yeah, no, I love Superman. I mean, I do.
Superman's great.
He is one of my favorite story arcs is him dying, but you know that's it hurt so bad because it was so important.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go over some basic details of all of the iterations of Superman, the ones you may know, the ones you may not know, and then we're going to rank the supers, like we did with Batman last week. But we won't be. Hey Daniel, yeah, we won't be so mean to Superman as we were to Batman because.
I like Superman a lot more, so yeah, I'm gonna be nicer. Except for Zack Snyder's.
Well, I will say we are definitely going to shit on the Snyderverse again this week, but we won't do it as bad as we did last week because I think we spent a lot of time doing it last week, so we're not going to do it as much this week.
I can't promise that. This is a specifically Superman day, so it's probably gonna be worse.
It's probably gonna be worse,
whole reason.
But current CW Superman is better than Henry Cavill.
Yes.
We'll get to our ranking. I will tell you right now, both of us agree with that statement.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a whole lot. I saw him in Supergirl, and I've watched clips from the new show, but I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch the new show. But it's
pretty solid.
I've heard it's better than most CW shows. So, which I mean, that's not hard to do. But,
not really.
But anyway, so let's jump right into it. Superman was created, of course, by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, and in Action Comics #1. So proving that even from the beginning of comic books, comic book writers and publishers did not understand how calendars work.
Yes.
Issue 1 on the cover says June of 38, yet it was released on April 18th, 1938. So that's still like you could literally grab anything off the shelf and it's going to be like, it's the November issue and we're chilling in September.
Yep.
It's wacky.
Never understood that.
Still don't.
I've been reading comics for my entire life. I don't get it.
Yeah. No, I know people that make comics and they can't even give me a reasonable justification for it.
Like I understand Grant Morrison books better than I understand that, and you know, I don't understand his books, but I like them.
Looks like I can't double on that, but okay, that's fine. Well, whatever. I'll do some audio playing with later.
We got this. It's fine.
Fine. I'll figure it out eventually.
Exactly. That was our technical difficulty.
Hopefully that's the worst it gets. I'm pretty sure it will be. We got full batteries. We got good mics. We got all that stuff going. So
got this.
We got this.
Indeed.
All right. That app sucked. So we'll use a different one next time. All right. So Superman is actually Kal-El from. We don't need to tell you about Superman. You all know about Superman. If you're listening to this, you know about Superman. Kal-El, Dying Planet, Crash Landed, Montauk Kent, Clark,
Doom Planet, Desperate Scientists, Last Hope.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and he started in 1938 and was huge. Now, we talked a lot last week about how the Comics Code affected comics.
Yes.
Surprisingly, because of the way that Superman has always been written, the Comics Code didn't affect him too hard.
No, he's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He always won anyway. His stories are very rarely dark. I'm gonna take off my name tag because I'm getting a weird like glare off of it from the new lighting. See, no more glare in the corner anymore.
We got this.
But yeah, so pretty, I mean, like we all know the story. It's been pretty much ingrained in our society. But so published in 38 and the animated shorts. I'll let you talk about the animated shorts.
Max Fleischer cartoons.
Max Fleischer cartoons.
Oh man. So they used to have like radio serials for Superman back in the day, and they tell you little Superman stories and they'd act them out and stuff, and it was awesome, and they were the best. Superman's great. So they would take some of those serials and they'd animate them every now and then, and or kind of just do their own thing with it. And the art of it is just incredible. Like it looks exactly how you want Superman to look. It's
exactly like your shirt.
Yes, it's the 1930s, 40s one with the black symbol. he acts exactly like Superman should. It's less supervillains and stuff like that, and more like, here's a giant robot he's got to punch, or like here's a volcano exploding and he's got to save the people. It's great stuff. There's nothing quite like it. Even nowadays, I mean, Bruce Timm took a lot of inspiration, I think, in the way like he postures Superman from that stuff. But
Very much so.
yeah, you don't really see anything quite like that nowadays. Yeah.
No, we're giving an honorable mention because that was the first time we actually saw him in motion. Was the animated shorts,
Yeah.
because it took a decade, whereas like Superman or Batman, it took like 2 years before we got actual serials.
Yeah.
It took a decade before we actually got the serials for Superman, and that was by a guy named Kirk Allen. His first was the first cinematic Superman, and he had a movie and a set of serials, which were Spider Lady was the original villain, and then Atom Man was the second villain in the movie.
Good stuff.
Which it actually was. So I watched these probably about a decade ago. They're not super easy to find. Every once in a while you can find them in the DVD discount bin.
Yeah.
I didn't rewatch them recently for this. I do remember watching them. And I have seen the Batman and comparing them to the serials. The Batman serials, because of when they were made, middle of World War II, they were super racist and super just not good.
Problematic.
Very problematic. You go back and watch it and be like, wow, we can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas Superman, once again, because it was the late 40s before he actually came on. Before they actually did the serials. So post-war, we were starting to become friendly with the Japanese. So no reason to attack a lot of them in a terrible way.
Yeah, no reason.
The propaganda machine was shifting at that time towards the Russians. So honestly, it's not very problematic to go back and watch it. It holds up still today as a very solid, enjoyable, now it is very basic special effects, very basic, trying to make him figure out how to make him fly and things like that. But it's still fun. And I'm sure that, like I said, I haven't seen it in about 10 years. I'm sure there's something problematic in there because it was 1948. But there's not the overt like shining head racial stereotypes screaming at you like there was with the Batman serials. So, and Kirk Allen actually played Clark Kent and Superman, and he played them as very different characters. So you actually had a very distinctive. Not everybody who has played Superman, which we'll discuss that whenever we get deeper into this.
Yeah, some of them are just
whatever. I am Superman. Wait, I put on a shirt. No, I'm Clark Kent, and I promise. And they're just the same person.
What's his name again?
Henry Cavill.
Nah, he's not really Clark in any of
this. He gets like 5 minutes as Clark. That's a discussion for later today.
Clark one.
Dean Cain in the later seasons,
was he really different?
In the early seasons, he was a little. He played up his derpiness and his very farm boyishness, and he was very like. It wasn't until later seasons that we'll also discuss that in a few minutes.
We had to remind him, you know.
Yes, it is nice to have a secret identity, Daniel. But that's Kirk Allen, and he was actually he was on Broadway before he got the part of Superman, and he was a Navy veteran in World War II. Now, here's the piece. We'll tie a little bit of Marvel lore into this. So, in the serials, the whole "with great power comes great responsibility."
Yeah,
that was actually originally in the serials. It was with the great powers. And I don't have the quote sitting in front of me, but it was basically this statement was with the great power. I believe it was Pa Kent said to him, with the great powers of flight and super strength and all this comes great responsibility to take care of your fellow man. And then it was streamlined, and Stanley actually did actually acknowledge that concept was where he got the concept from. With great power comes great responsibility.
Look at that.
So Superman actually inspired Spider-Man's most repetitive statement.
Yet another thing that Stanley stole from somebody.
I won't call it stealing. I'll call it streamlining. Because it was like a 2 sentence long like statement.
Oh,
but
sure. He just kind of trimmed out some of the words.
Trimmed out the extra words.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I mean, it was kind of one of those things that it was inspired. It did inspire the with great power comes great responsibility. So
just where's Steve getting that great power comes great responsibility money, huh? You know.
So
he's not.
In 1951, we got a George Reeves Superman and the Mole Men. Was still a serial. Now, by this point, serials were starting to get less popular, and they were starting to streamline them in movies more than anything else, and just make them whole movies. And Superman and the Mole Men was another very. It was very blah. Lost my train of thought. Lost my wording. Words are hard. Their special effects were very good to make it look like George Reeves was our new Superman in 1951, was flying and all that stuff. Superman and the Mole Men was the movie, and basically there were mole men, and they had a laser, and Superman had to stop them from messing with the mole men
regular stuff,
regular Superman stuff.
Yeah, it's like a Tuesday for him.
Now, like I said, it was 1951 when this came out, so the Red Scare was starting to happen. So there is a little bit, and this creeped into the show also, which the show George Reeves also was Superman, The Adventures of Superman from 52 to 58. A lot of that was early time Cold War. Cold War hadn't completely kicked off, but it was beginning the Cold War propaganda. So
things were tense.
So things were starting to get tense, and we were starting to see some of that overt Russian threat, the Red Scare. In that, so that time period was starting to get a touch problematic, but not overtly problematic. But that inspired a lot of those stories during that time period. But George Reeves is what a lot of people, anybody older than me, that's the first thing that they think of whenever they say Superman is George Reeves.
He does a surprisingly good job.
He's
got a bit of a 1940s bod, though. You know what I mean? He eats a lot of has a lot of steak and milks. You know what I mean?
It's if I shaved and became Superman. It really is. I mean, like
good job though.
He did. It was a wonderful job. He had it was a really solid separation between Clark and Superman. And you believed him as Clark, and you also believed him as Superman, but Superman didn't have to have the Henry Cavill rippedness.
Man's a tower. It's just like a refrigerator.
Now after George Reeves, took him 27 years.
That's way too long.
To get Superman back on the screen. Now there were a couple little cartoons and stuff like that, like Saturday morning cartoons and things during that time period. But it took 27 years to actually get Superman back on the screen. And you'd think it'd be honestly, it's all licensing. They just kept on selling the rights to different studios and fighting over it. So it took them 27 years. And then they made the most expensive movie ever made to date. And we have the 1978 classic Superman with Christopher Reeve. No relation. And Richard Donner wrote the initial story, and then and directed it, and it is a borderline masterpiece.
Oh, it's so good.
It gives you exactly what you want out of Superman. It makes Clark Kent look like the bumbling fool that he has to be for his secret identity, and it makes Superman look like the big blue Boy Scout that he is.
He plays both sides just perfectly.
He does.
Christopher Reeve, he made us believe a man could fly.
He did, and it was beautiful and wonderful. And John Williams did the score.
I always forget that's John Williams.
So the guy who gave us pretty much all of the Star Wars music and all of the Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park. You think of an epic, wonderful classical score, and it was probably John Williams. And if it wasn't if it was spooky, then it was Danny Elfman. Like, just pretty much like
John Williams gets them big crescendos. It's great.
Makes you feel. Makes you feel the movie through the music.
Well, you hear that Superman theme and you it immediately comes to your mind.
Oh yeah,
Superman.
absolutely.
It's the best.
It was nominated for 3 Oscars. It was
should be.
it is preserved in the Library of Congress National Film Reserve.
That's
So
awesome.
okay,
Yeah.
so it is considered an important piece of American history.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an origin story, as we discussed. We're not going to go over his origin story.
Yeah, Rocket, boom.
Rocket, boom.
You know how it works.
Mom, Pa Kent.
Yeah,
Be
the
good.
best
Be a good
parents.
kid.
God, they're great. Also, they nailed the whole heart attack thing.
Oh yeah,
It's a big problem I have with Snyder stuff is how he handles Jonathan Kent.
yeah.
If you want to look at the right way to do it, watch this one.
We'll complain about
better.
that in a few minutes.
I'm gonna complain about it for the rest of my life.
Probably.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor, played by Gene Hackman, of course,
Yeah.
wants to sink the West Coast
Mhm.
into the ocean, and also he wants to fire a missile at Jersey.
I think it was Jersey.
No, it was Jersey.
It was definitely Jersey.
I don't know why Jersey, but I mean,
He just didn't like it.
why didn't Superman get as many movies as Batman altogether?
Because people suck.
Mostly because of licensing, honestly. Like it's they've sold him back and forth so many times. Now that Warner Brothers, who owns DC, has those rights, they pretty much can do whatever they want, and they don't sell it off anymore. Now that comics have become more profitable again, but during that time period, comics were not super profitable. And it wasn't until we got the Superman movie that people started to see superhero movies as viable.
Mhm.
And Superman led into Howard the Duck, which
Solid effort, guys. Solid
kind of
effort.
took
Yeah.
the scale back a little bit, and then Batman blew up the whole concept of comic book movies being successful. And then we rolled into Blade saving Marvel Comics as a business and as movies. And then we rolled into the X-Men, which really kind of kickstarted the success of comic book movies can be considered legitimate films.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew into what we have now, where every other movie is, I mean, what, 8 of the top 10 grossing films of all time are either Star Wars or Marvel.
It also doesn't help that we haven't had a good Superman movie since 1980. Yeah. And every time they tried, Zack Snyder literally said he doesn't like Superman, and they gave that man a Superman movie.
We almost got Nicolas Cage as Superman in the 90s. Now
I want to see that, because we got a Brainiac as a robot spider, and like the suit
really was writing it. Like it was it was going to be a Kevin Smith movie, which Kevin Smith loves comics, which is why I'm ashamed of Daredevil.
How his
How?
Batman books are the real oof. They're rough. Batman shits his pants in those and smokes weed. It's so weird. Like, why'd you DC release that?
His Green Hornet was pretty solid for a
really
while,
good.
and his Green Arrow
was
really good.
Yeah. Bill Hester. Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically they've been messing up Superman for the
Yep.
past 42 years.
Yeah.
And they, instead of going, hey, let's get someone who wants to write a Superman movie and make a good one, they go, oh, Superman doesn't sell. But it's really just you make bad movies, man. And it's not okay. Stop it. Please stop it.
Yep.
It hurts.
Let me and Chandler write a Superman story.
Yeah.
Let us write and direct a Superman story and pick our own Superman.
It's just gonna be me having him save cats out of trees all day.
I mean, that's not terrible.
No, it'd be great. Think about it, just a day in the life, just saving cats. Be great stuff.
We're gonna make a YouTube video. We're gonna make a short film.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna make a short film out of Superman, and then Warner Brothers is gonna sue the shit out of us.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Fair. We'll go ahead and start the Kickstarter for our legal defense fund.
Yes.
For our fan film.
We will need it.
We will, because Warner Brothers likes to eat people's souls.
Yeah.
So in 1980, Christopher Reeve was still Superman, and we got Superman 2.
Yeah.
Which was still pretty solid. Oh,
it's pretty solid, but the whole thing.
The one thing we didn't discuss is about Superman 1 is they actually filmed, they had already greenlit Superman 2. So they filmed Superman 1 and 2 at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, 75% of Superman 2.
Mm-hmm.
To which for some reason, they decided not to bring Richard Donner back as the official director for Superman 2, which asterisk, we got the Donner cut like in 2005, which we won't necessarily go into that as a discussion separately. But
the whole thing.
Richard Lester, so different Richard.
Basically just a yes man.
Pretty much. Filled in the last 25 cents, or the last 25% of the movie. Which the movie had a really solid story. It was good old Kneel Before Zod.
Oh yeah, Kneel Before Zod.
Kneel Before Zod.
Iconic.
Which is disappointing. That
Zod?
No, that's not disappointing.
He's great.
he is great. Superman 2 is solid. That was the only moment. Like if in Man of Steel, if he would have said Kneel Before Zod, I would have been like, you know what? You automatically get at least 2 points. Not any more than 2 points.
Yeah.
But
Zod in Man of Steel is actually pretty good. He's one of the few things I don't really complain about.
But
hey, Jess.
Hi, Jessica. But he needed to say it. I'm mad that he. I'm salty.
You're still. That's the thing that you're mad about.
I'm mad about a lot of
really.
I'm mad about a lot of things.
But that's the first one that comes.
First one that comes because Kneel Before Zod is so iconic moment.
Yeah.
That whenever you have Zod and he is taking control, that like you need him to say that. It is important.
You ever thought Zod was like pretty like a real wiry dude? You know what I mean? In the old Superman movie,
he was kind of wiry.
I mean, Terrence Stamp is a wiry dude.
Yeah, he was. I don't think that he was formidable. Now, what was it?
And they had
bougie
space clothes on.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like just a little. Got the sparkle going.
Yeah. Little fonts.
So Zod and his lackeys escaped from the Phantom Zone because Superman tossed a nuclear bomb out in the freaking away from. It was a hydrogen bomb. He threw it out and it blew up the Phantom Zone, and then the bad guys escaped. So thanks, Superman.
Hey man,
it was an accident.
He didn't know what he was doing at the time. Yeah.
Hans Zimmer's score is pretty darn solid. I will give you that, Brad.
It's a good score.
But so the lackeys escape the Phantom Zone. They come down here. They see the White House, and they go take over the White House from the president.
Yes.
And then Lex Luthor breaks out of jail, and he then decides to help Zod because F Superman in his brain. And he he's like, I'll help you if you give me Australia.
He's all about real estate.
Yeah, like it's kind of a recurring thing. We've got 5 in the original Superman like story.
Yeah.
Technically there are 3 because Returns doesn't count 3 and 4.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
But of the 5 shiny suit, like Christopher Reeve era, even though Brandon Ruth took over.
It's basically it's
the same. It's a Christopher Reeve movie with a new face.
Yeah.
Basic 3 of those 5 movies, and technically the only 3 that count canonically in that story arc.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor is trying to get real estate.
That's all he wants. That's like some land. It's kind of weird. It's kind of sad.
It is. So in the first one, like I said, he wanted to knock California off and take over California.
Yeah.
This one, he just wants Australia. He said, Zod, I'll help you take over the world if I can have Australia. And Zod goes, okay, you stupid human, we'll let you do that.
Right. They'd probably just kill him later. They wouldn't even
fair, really. Superman wins. Yeah. Bad guys go back to the Phantom Zone, I think.
He throws a big old cellophane S at one of them. It's pretty good. It's I wish that was like a real thing in Superman comics.
Yeah. Classic. But yeah, no, you wouldn't really think that Zod would be he's like, yes, he gets the yellow sun powers, but he's not formidable. He's not as Christopher Reeve bulky as like what was it I
think it's non.
Yeah, I think it's not. His one of his lackeys, the bulky doesn't say anything.
Looks like a goblin man.
Yeah. Now that dude, like, I'd believe him beating the snot out of Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, so great. Superman 2, even if you're Australia's just a subcontinent, anyways. Sure,
right? Yeah.
Give him the knockoff plan. So Superman 2, not as good as Superman 1, but still a quality Superman film. Makes you feel happy inside, makes you enjoy.
The Donner cut is better though. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you film 75% of a movie and then you have somebody else, a yes man, just finish it. So Zod felt like a city level threat. Okay, but he was
he can throw a helicopter or whatever.
You gotta realize Zod was he was a general. He wasn't necessarily, now he was a fighting general, but he was the mastermind that could convince people to follow him and lead. It wasn't necessary. He didn't have to be that's why he had Non, so you didn't have to swing.
Yeah.
But
Defeated by cellophane.
Yeah.
It's so great. I really like that.
And now we start with the sad days.
Yeah, so this is what Richard Lester bad. He's not good. Because this one it's a Richard Pryor movie with Superman in it. That's the movie. That's the movie. But it does have one of my favorite things ever, which is they split. There's Clark and Superman basically, and the Superman's evil, and the Superman gets his rocks off by flicking little peanuts at bottles and breaking them in bars. And I really, really like that for some reason. And their fight, when they fight each other, is just it's so bad that I like it like too much. Like it's not even so bad it's good. It's not, it's bad, but like there's something about it that I think about like a lot.
So part 3 in 1983. Yep. Richard Pryor is a computer programmer. Now, mind you, this is 1983, so computer programmer was not a super popular job yet.
No, they didn't even really know what it meant. Honestly.
Computer programmer in this movie, like he reprogrammed a weather machine to create a megastorm. He broke into a laser system.
Was security like thing at this time too? He had to.
I'm sure he was, but yeah,
he's been around since like the Silver Age at least.
Yeah, probably.
They just like, hey, that's the weather wizard.
So
that's a thing that we have.
Yeah, and whenever
just do that.
Yeah, it was so many wackiness, and it was just like, oh, this computer programmer can build this laser. This computer program. It was basically like if you take a late 90s hacker movie that was Richard Pryor, but he made quips and jokes every 3 seconds. Y'all want to complain about Thor: Love and Thunder having a lot of fucking humor in it?
Yeah.
Superman 3, it was just way out of the blue, had nothing to do with anything. Richard Pryor being Richard Pryor, but it was a PG movie, so Richard Pryor
he could actually
really good Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that Richard Pryor is recipe. That dude was hilarious.
That guy was hilarious.
But
way too much
make him a PG make him make a PG movie, and you're losing like half of the things that he said that was funny.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
And then
it's a dumb movie.
It is not a good movie. And speaking of not good movies, you then had in 1987. Now, as a kid, this was my favorite one because it's the most fast-paced one, and as a kid, it is very easy to be entertained with fast-moving.
It's got a lot of bright colors, especially with Nuclear Man and stuff.
Quest for Peace, Part 4, super Cold War era.
Yeah.
We hate nukes. We hate nukes, and we hate the Ruskies, and that was so
that's basically the whole movie.
That's the whole movie. Yeah, no,
Superman wants to get rid of all the nukes, and then the Nuclear Man gets made, and you got to fight Nuclear Man. That's the whole movie.
That's the whole movie. Yep, that's the whole movie. I think it's even like the shortest movie.
It definitely is.
There's not a whole lot to it other than Lex Luthor makes a Superman clone that is nuclear powered, and they fight. They fight on the moon. They fight in space. He knocks. It's just ridiculous. Even for the time, they weren't good. Like if you look at Superman 2 and then you look at Superman 4, you're like, oh, your budget got cut. It's like a lot. It's like a lot. I think this was also right after the Supergirl movie was made. And
that would make sense.
And it was so poorly received that they cut the Superman.
That's
which Christopher Reeve refused to make his cameo in the Supergirl movie.
Yeah.
So
because it's really bad. She fights like a witch or something.
It's ridiculous. Now, here is one of the interesting things that I actually learned for this. Most of this bullshit I just know, and just because I'm full of useless information, but I did not know this. The original director for Superman 4, Wes Craven.
Really?
Yes, they hired Wes Craven to be
after he did the Swamp Thing one too.
No, it was before. Swamp Thing was
the Swamp Thing was in like the early 80s. Was it? Yeah, like let's say it
was like 89.
I'm pretty sure Len Wein made him in like the late 70s, and it was like a few years after. Boom. Like he was surprisingly popular at the time.
Yeah, I thought that was late 80s. Anyway,
That's something
anyway,
that's kind of guilty.
but yeah. So so Wes Craven was hired to be the original director.
Weird.
Which for kiddos, if you don't know who Wes Craven is, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like that's
Scream.
and Scream. So like if it's not John Carpenter and it's a classic, it's probably Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Or Clive Barker. If it's not, Wes Craven, Clive Barker, and John Carpenter. That's that
cameo in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back always gets me. It's very funny.
But
yeah.
But they fired him.
Yeah.
Because him and Christopher Reeve did not get along. And Christopher Reeve said it's me or him, and it's kind of hard to make Superman movie without Superman.
Yeah.
So they were like, kick rocks, Wes, and they hired another guy, which I don't actually remember who they hired for that one.
No, yeah. Apparently the production behind Superman 4 was a mess, and like the cast was rewriting it. It was one of those.
It was
everything was falling apart at the seams.
Yep.
It was,
it was wacky.
Indeed.
So now, in order to bridge the gap of another 20 plus years before we get another Superman movie,
God, gaps are ridiculous.
We got Superman on the television. Now, here's a deep cut, and people that are my age might remember this. I won't be mad at you if you don't, because it wasn't super popular.
I actually know basically nothing about this one.
But in 1988, there was a Superboy TV show. And I say that this still counts as Superman in cinema and on film because it was not Superboy. DC Comics had just actually killed off Superboy in the comics in continuity with the Crisis, Infinite Crisis, and all that.
Oh, you're talking about that version. Oh, okay.
Superboy did not exist, so they made this Superboy TV show to target at younger audiences. And it was Kal-El and / Clark Kent in high school and college.
It's basically Smallville before Smallville.
Yes. And actually, it wasn't that bad of a show.
Yeah.
However, Superboy / Clark Kent was so bad in season 1, they recast him for seasons 2 through 4.
4 seasons?
It got 4 seasons. Okay, so this show,
it's nuts.
It was actually not a terrible show.
Yeah.
It was written by, most of the episodes were written by actual comic book writers. It got a lot of the spirit and a lot of the concepts and a lot of the ideas of Superman right. It just had an absolute trash budget. So because it was treated slightly better than a Saturday morning cartoon.
I get you.
So you had this show for 4 years. Yeah. So John Hames Newton was replaced by Gerard Christopher in season 2.
What a name.
If those names don't mean anything to you, that's okay, because they shouldn't, because they didn't do shit else. There were a handful of, I would say, cameos, but they're not really cameos. If you go back and watch this show, if you find it on something, it may be on YouTube, who knows. You'll see a few, like, it's kind of like going back, have you ever watched old X-Files? There's so many famous people in X-Files that like you're
Bryan
just like
Cranston's in one of those.
Hey, Jack Black's in a few in an episode. Anyway, that's kind of how the Superboy show was. There's a handful of hey, that guys before they were even so it now after season 2, Batman came out. Batman 89 came out. So the gritty superhero thing was very popular, and so seasons 3 and 4 reflected more of the Burton verse. Having proper writers does make a very big difference, Daniel.
Superman's just never the
so it wasn't dark because it was still aimed at a younger audience, but it was considerably darker than season 1 and 2 were. Season 1 and 2, he was in high school, very light. Season 3 and 4, he was in college, and he interned at
Daily Planet.
No, he interned so he went to college in Florida, in case you didn't know.
What?
Why not?
Okay.
So
I don't know how I feel about that.
What's the place that Supergirl's sister in the show works for? My brain is
TV show.
Yeah, in the TV show. Basically they research basically it took a format where they would research extraterrestrial things, and it almost came
Oh, like whatever that weird agency is or whatever.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. It almost took on like an X-File-y feeling, but this was also a couple of years before X-Files.
Yeah, it's not
So-
Checkmate, is it?
No, it's not
No?
Checkmate.
Yeah.
That's I'm not sure.
That's
Anyway,
the big DC
yeah.
behind the
Yeah,
scenes
behind the
guys.
scenes, yeah. But yeah, so it was a much better show than you would think if I told you there was a Superboy show in 1988 through 1992 about young Clark Kent and Kal-El, and he went to college in Florida. Like you'd be surprised that it was not horrendous. It was not good. I've seen too many movies go to shit because of directing. Yes, that does happen very often.
It happens a lot.
Um,
A lot. With Superman.
So, right as Superboy ended, we got now people my age. This is really their hard, like, we all saw the Superman movie, but the Superman movies were starting to age at this point.
Totally. Yeah. Definitely dated.
But we got Lois and Clark, the new adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
And we got Mr. Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher, and everybody my age had a crush on Terry Hatcher because she's still smoking hot to this day.
Yeah.
So
it's not a bad show either. I haven't seen a ton of it, but from what I've seen, it's bad.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it that's pulled straight from the comics. There's a lot of it that's inspired by the comics. There's a lot of fun. It gets the spirit and the feeling of the comics. It's very good.
Yeah.
Lasted 4 seasons. It had some DEO is where she works. Yeah, it's the place where Superboy interned was very similar to the DEO. Thank you, Kayla.
That's appreciate that.
We rely on you for filling in the gaps of things that we won't Google.
Yeah.
Because my phone and my iPad are both fucking working right now. So
I have my phone right here. I could have done it the whole time.
He could have, and he didn't.
That's not authentic.
We knew Kayla would know. Anyway. Thank you, Kayla. But yeah, so it got the feeling of Superman quite well. I feel that Dean Cain was he in his head knew what Clark Kent was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And he tried, and he was goofy at it.
He was okay.
But he was just
he's just
such a massive dude that it's like, no, you're how are you that much of a bumbling idiot?
Exactly. And he didn't even really act like it. He was just he just put glasses on.
It played off a lot more comedic, which I mean, I will say that did make it sillier that he was such a big just dude and he was a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that show. I remember making it a priority to watch that show.
I get it.
As it came out every week, because this was before DVR was a thing.
The dark days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cleared your schedule and be like, nah, it's Superman and Lois, bro.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Lois and Clark. Superman and Lois is totally different.
Hashtag feminism, put her name first.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lois is a great character.
And Lois was a great character in that show. Very much girl power, very much empowering. She I knew he wouldn't, so she
I saw that. Yeah. I can feel your sass from over here, Kayla.
Yeah. But yeah, Terry Hatcher nailed that point. I mean, the first time you see her, she's in that show, which yes, because I knew we were doing this, I actually did go back and watch the pilot again. I fell asleep. I won't lie. It was like 3:00 in the morning. But the first time you see her, she's dressed up as a homeless bum with a fake beard on, and Jimmy Olsen comes and rips off her fake mustache for her. It's just, she did such a great job at just showing that she was just a badass reporter that would do whatever she had to do to get a story. And it was fun. And
Lois Lane's a great character. She doesn't get the spotlight she deserves a lot.
Now, as great as a job as Terry Hatcher did, I will always, the best performance in that show, though, Lane Smith as Perry White. Anytime I see a Superman movie, film, cartoon, whatever, you just want the Lane Smith to be Perry White, because he just does such a good job of what you think Perry White should be. And of all of the characters and all of this, Lane Smith is Perry White. That was just, he played it wonderfully.
I will say, though, good to see Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
They never do. Technically, Zack Snyder did put Jimmy Olsen in the movie, but I don't want to talk about that, because we don't acknowledge that.
Jimmy Olsen was not. No, Jimmy Olsen was not in that.
CIA. He didn't wear a bow tie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's gotta be wearing a bow tie. That's like
Fair.
a big priority for me.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah. And Jimmy Olsen was pretty solid. Now they did change Jimmy Olsen. Like it went 4 seasons. It did change Jimmy Olsen in after season 1. So it was still solid. Like he did a good job. Both Jimmys.
Oh,
were
they were
good.
both solid. Apparently there were some problems in the first one. Like,
Yeah.
some like real life problems.
So shortly after Lois and Clark ended, we got Smallville on.
Somebody save me. Don't care how you do it, just save me. It's great.
It is great.
Such a good theme song.
Such a great theme song. In 2001, the year I graduated high school, Smallville premiered, and it was groundbreaking for a lot of reasons. Between special effects in the TV show, between the cast they utilized, between the way they shot it, and just the exposure that it got.
Yeah. It was a different take on Superman.
It
as well.
was a different take on Superman. Technically, though, Superboy did the same thing.
Oh yeah.
But however, they even said whenever they started Smallville that they never intended to see him in the Superman suit.
Yes, which does deeply frustrate me.
Yes, which I mean, it was the end of season 10, or did it go 10 or 11 seasons? 10. Yeah, 10 seasons. 10. So the last episode, you got to see him in the super suit for like
a second,
half a second.
Like it didn't even count. Yeah, basically.
So,
How do you fight Darkseid and Doomsday and all that and not wear it?
Now I will say that intensity for the first few seasons, I mean, quality television, like some of the best TV. And it had some moments as the thing went by, but it got ridiculouser and ridiculouser.
Oh, it did, yeah.
It was,
like the whole Justice League is there at one point, and he's not even wearing a suit, and he's like, "Dude, you're Superman. You're like the reason that
you've got a red jacket.
They exist."
He's got a red jacket though.
Yeah, I hate that. I'm trying really hard to not.
No, I know. Yeah,
no.
There were some silly. There were some choices. But Tom Welling really gave us that Clark Kent, and really gave us that how we feel about Clark Kent, and he played goofy bumbling idiot quite well.
Yeah,
he
was great,
and
good.
Tom Welling was great. It was great. And if you like Smallville, there's actually is it Talkville, I think. Anyway.
Oh, you talking about the podcast?
Tom Welling, Tom Welling, and Michael Rosenbaum, Clark and Lex just started earlier this summer, about a month and a half ago. Every week they're doing an episode, and they're literally revisiting every single episode. So like they will at their age, grown ass adults, like in their 40s, will watch the episode, and then they will have a complete like podcast, like an hour long, talking about them filming and all
what they're up to.
It's really like they would reminisce. Now he also does have just a "this is what I'm doing" podcast, but
that one.
But like Talkville is literally just them discussing, them making each individual episode and bringing back all the memories in their brains about we made this episode. So it's actually a really solid podcast. That's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Also, just like thought that like I just now realized he's probably the best Lex Luthor we've ever had in live action. When you think about it.
I will not disagree with that.
Yeah. And he wasn't obsessed with real estate, which is nice.
No. Yeah. Because
they had like a bond. They were like brothers, kind of, and it made it
really good. That much more whenever they split.
Yeah. He looked weird. Remember when they had the little bald kid shots? So when he's like 5, those were so funny.
Like all. Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah. No, I will concur that he is probably the best screen Lex Luthor because you had Gene Hackman was just obsessed with real estate.
Yeah. He was doing
the Lex character from the Superboy show, they did a similar thing where they were buddies and then they weren't.
Yeah.
And then you did but it wasn't memorable, and they changed him twice in a show.
Nice. Yeah.
You had I don't think that the Lex from Lois and Clark was smart enough. Like he was very conniving and he was pretty scary.
Yeah.
But he wasn't quite. He didn't have that level of
Yeah.
diabolical intellect.
Yeah. That's
And
what
then
I feel about all the Christopher Reeve movies as well.
Yeah.
Like he's not
he's more of
the
a clown.
smartest. Yeah, he's kind of a clown who like has a couple they're not even good schemes.
Night,
honestly.
Kayla. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, Kayla.
And then you had we don't talk about Jesse Eisenberg because we're going to shit on the Snyderverse soon.
It's coming up and it's gonna be glorious.
It is. But Smallville went for 10 years, and it was, as a total, it was solid. I'm not mad at even the bad. Actually,
there's some pretty bad ones in there.
I'm only the only thing that I'm truly mad at was the way they treated Doomsday.
That even I don't really hate that. The one thing that gets me in that is like, they had the no flying rule, right?
Yeah.
He's never gonna fly.
Yeah.
So why, when people possess him, can he fly? That's stupid and very like just do one or the other.
Oh, and whenever he had what is it, red kryptonite, that makes him all hostile. He could fly whenever he had red kryptonite.
Yes.
So
like that doesn't make.
Well, I mean, he had to unlock a part of his personality that he hadn't quite gotten under control, so it does kind of make sense. But yeah,
I mean, they wrote out of it, but I'm still saying it's kind of just don't have him fly at all.
I won't call it bullshit, but I will call it horse shit.
Yeah,
fair,
pretty much.
But yeah, let's see. Yep, Smallville was pretty solid as a whole show, and then midway through Smallville, because Superman was riding a high because Smallville was such a hit, we got Superman Returns with Brandon Routh in 2006. Ralph for sure. Ralph. Yeah. Cast for one reason and one reason only.
Looks like Chris Reeves.
Joker looks like Chris Reeves. That's it. That's all.
Thing.
Picks up, like we said earlier, picks up where Superman 2 left off. Superman 3 and 4 don't count in canonical storyline for it.
Yes.
And once again, it's an homage sequel to Part 2, is what they called it.
And it's pretty bland, honestly.
It's very bland.
It's so boring. That movie's boring.
It drags.
It's got this weird faded color palette.
I understand they're trying to do like a sepia tone kind of thing.
Yeah,
like 1940s
kind of thing.
But no, it just didn't work very well. He did a fine job of Superman.
Oh, he wasn't bad at all.
He was a mediocre Clark.
Yeah, like in the CW show when they brought him back and he had better writing, he was actually quite good, So,
he once again, Lex Luthor, obsessed with real estate, decided, well, I didn't win California and I didn't win Australia, so I'm just going to steal these crystals and make my own island in the middle of the Pacific that will destroy the freaking way the water levels are. And
I'm gonna steal an old lady's boat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had
it's not very good.
We had baby Superman crushing bad guys with pianos.
Yeah.
That
movie's kind of whack, man.
It's really whack.
Not great. Yeah.
But Bryan Singer wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
Of X-Men fame and X-Men 2.
Of also bad things.
Yeah, he's done a lot of bad things too.
Yeah,
one of them
in real life.
That too.
Yeah.
He's kind of a shitty dude.
Yeah.
But
two terribly shitty people in this movie.
Yep. No, we don't.
Yeah,
one of them we're not even going to mention.
Yeah.
Superman Returns. Great potential. Dud of a movie.
Yeah.
And now I'm sorry.
Or is it time?
2013.
Yeah. The movie that made me lose faith in movies. Yeah.
Do it. Just do it. So hang on. I'll say Henry Cavill. The Greek
choice.
The Greek god that is Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Made everybody mad that they made a British guy Superman. Everyone was mad that a British guy played an alien because he wasn't American.
Yeah. Well, he is supposed to be American's apple pie, Can't
boy. But he's still an alien.
Yeah, true.
Technically, he's an illegal immigrant.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah, no, very true.
But anyway, okay. I'll let you rip on Man of Steel for a minute because.
All right. So, Zack Snyder has literally said before that he doesn't care about Superman and didn't really care about Superman movies, but he wanted to make Batman stuff. So they gave him this, and so he got to do Batman stuff later. The writer of the movie, David S. Goyer, who wrote some comics, including a quite acclaimed Justice Society run, also said that I don't really care for Superman, and I was taking a check. So you got those two guys, right? And they're gonna make a Superman movie, and it turns out exactly as you'd expect for two people who don't want to make a Superman movie. It sucks and it's terrible. And fans like me who really love Superman and his character and don't want to see some dark, edgy version of it, it makes me cry in my alone times. And I hate it. And I hate it. And I really hate it. And I can't get over it. And it's not Henry Cavill's fault. He's a great choice. He looks perfect for the part. Zod is great. It's like the one thing that's good about that movie. Everything else can go to hell, honestly. And Snyder can go to hell. Yes. What?
If you called it Century, the movie, would it pass?
Almost. Almost. I actually wouldn't hate that. And they messed up the Jonathan Kent thing. And I'll never forgive anyone for that ever. That's about it. I mean, it's not it. But I don't want to be here forever. And I will. Oh, wait. We got two more movies. Batman v Superman's worse. It's worse. It's somehow worse than the first. Oh, my God. Why'd they let him do 3 of these? Ugh. So
contracts and licensing, bro.
Yeah,
contracts and licensing.
Yeah, they could have swapped him out like right after the first one. They could have swapped him out during the first one. They could have realized that, like, hey, he's not making a Superman movie. He's making an edgy bitch lord movie. They could have stopped that. They could have had him not have Batman kill everybody. Superman smashes up his own city, the one that he protects, and he smashed it up. Not just Zod, like he participated in some of it. Superman would just take you to a field or something. There's so many things wrong with Zack Snyder's Superman. In like the character's not right. He doesn't act as he should. Superman's supposed to smile, supposed to be there for you, a friend. All he does in Batman v Superman is look at TVs that are talking shit about him and then kind of look sad. That's not Superman. None of this is Superman. He grabs a guy and flies him through like 12 walls, and then he says, "I didn't kill him." That's not, you did kill him. There's also that bit where the courtroom blows up, and instead of like, he can move at super speed, instead of saving some people before the explosion gets out of hand, he just kind of sits there and looks sad and fire and just like kind of cries a little bit and then leaves. Can't even explain to anyone what's happening. What the hell? Also, Lex Luthor peed in a jar. Like, that happened in that movie, and it's not okay. Like, either he peed in the jar or he paid someone else to pee in that jar. And either way, that's not how Lex Luthor acts. I haven't even really touched on Lex Luthor, but he's also just a straight up disrespect. It's the worst. And Justice League is also, I know the Snyder cut is better and all that. It's still not a good Superman. None of it, all the characterization in all the Snyder movies is wrong. And it's wrong. And if he was here right now, Zack Snyder, I would tell him to his face. Because, all right. I think I should stop. I think I'm done. Those movies suck. They're probably the worst travesty that's ever existed in superhero movies in general. And it's to the first one, to the very first superhero ever. And he got the worst end of the stick. It doesn't make sense. Ugh. Yeah.
So,
okay, I'm done now. I'm done.
So if you stuck with us that long, you're welcome for that wonderful, wonderful, very accurate rant.
This could be the show. I could just yell about it forever, honestly.
He could.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah. There's literally 10 hours of these films. And I'm not including the Joss Whedon one. I could do this forever.
Yeah. I could do this all day.
Yeah. That's a better one. Right. Yeah. What else? We got one more.
We got one more.
And it's actually good. Thank God.
In 2021.
Yeah, it is.
No, I mean, we saw little hints of it in cameos in the Supergirl TV show, which I enjoyed for the most part. Superman and Lois started airing in 2021 on the CW, with Tyler Hoechlin who, when they just said that he was going to be Superman, I was like,
Oh, same here.
weird that
choice.
dude from Teen Wolf,
The guy from Palm Springs
No.
who gets stabbed in the face with a fork.
no.
Yeah.
But he looks the part.
Yeah.
He has a nice smile.
Does a good job.
And he does a solid job.
Yeah. He's just good. Like, he's just very good.
He's quality.
And it's a stark contrast to what we've had for a while.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
How cool is the Dawn of Justice edition of the Jeep Renegade?
You know, they had to.
Yeah, Brett. After doing this deep dive on a lot of stuff, I am going to. I've been boycotting a lot. Not boycotting, just deciding not to deal with the Arrowverse anymore. But
they just get samey after.
I really after Arrow tanked so hard and Flash tanked so hard, like they just went so far out of left field. I literally was just like, I'm not going to give Superman and Lois a chance. But you know, after
good.
I think they're going to go ahead and maybe try to get caught up on it in the off season.
It's like the total opposite of Snyder. It's not super loud and in your face. It's very true to the character. He smiles at you. It's nice.
It's it's the only DC show that's not on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So
they're gonna keep that one going apparently.
Yep.
Which is nice. Yeah.
So we have after going through all of these, we have our rankings, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 10 Supermans that we have seen on the big screen.
You think about it, you could have looked at that, that number, and it seemed to
I could have. I wanted to make sure there was dude, my eye holes ain't working that great these days.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do it a little bit different than we did last week. We're going to just go across the board for all of for each of them. So we'll start we're gonna do them
with the
we're gonna do them in time order. Blah. We're gonna start with 1941, Mr. Kirk Allen as Clark Kent. Actually, you know what? We'll do the countdown. The worst Clark Kent is for me is John Hames Newton.
Yeah.
Who was the first Superboy Clark Kent. He was so bad they replaced him after season 1. Chronological. Thank you for the
there you go.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We're gonna count down. So in 9th place, Gerard Christopher in Superboy replaced John Hames Newton, which that show just was not that great.
Yeah.
8th, Henry Cavill. He is not a good Clark Kent. He doesn't spend enough time being Clark Kent.
He's barely Clark Kent in those movies.
No, and I don't believe him as Clark Kent. 7, George Reeves, actually.
Yeah.
George Reeves, he didn't do a terrible job, but there's a lot better Clark Kents out there.
Yeah.
Number 6, Tyler Hoechlin.
You got to see it.
I don't, from what I have seen of it, and I've seen clips and I've seen the Supergirl stuff, so I don't really have a good baseline. So he's in that middle range just because I don't have a decent enough baseline, but he's got to be better than some of these other ones.
Oh, he definitely is.
Number 5, Dean Cain, because like I said, he did Bumbling Idiot pretty well.
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean, visually, I didn't believe it. But, but the way he behaved, I thought he did a pretty good job. Number 4, Brendan Ruth. Ralph.
Yep.
He looks like a scrawny bitch.
Yeah.
So
he kind of acts like it.
He
too.
does kind of act like it too.
Not in like a good character way.
Number 3,
not very good movies.
Kirk Allen. Kirk Allen, he did not do bad as Clark Kent. He was solid. He was actually really good Clark Kent.
Good to hear. Yeah.
Number 2, Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
Christopher Reeve is national treasure. Love that guy.
Legend. Yeah.
And the best Clark, in my opinion, is the one that we spent the most time with, and that's Tom Welling.
He's really good.
We spent 10 years of him being Clark Kent and
and not
scenes of him being Superman. So I mean,
he
had the most practice, and he really did a good job of bringing Clark being through his maturity.
Yeah, sure.
So
makes sense. Yeah.
That's my lineup. So
yeah.
Best Clark, Tom Welling. Worst Clark, Superboy from season 1 Clark.
I ranked all mine that I hadn't seen, like the serials and the
Yeah,
Yeah,
he shit on the ones that he didn't see because he didn't have a baseline.
I don't
for it.
know. So they basically don't count in my mind. But below them all was Brandon. Wait, not Brandon Routh. Yeah, no, it was Brandon Routh. Yeah.
Eight.
Um,
Yeah. So 8 and then 7. Yeah, Brandon
yeah, it was
Routh.
Brandon Routh. Yeah.
There you go.
Brandon Routh just, man, I wish they'd written him better because he's a good actor, but just there's nothing to it. Henry Cavill, he's barely Clark in any of those movies, honestly. That's why he's there. Dean Cain, number 5, just because I also don't really believe this is Clark Kent. He just looks too much like Superman. I don't know. There's something about it. Number 4, George Reeves. I saw that way early on when I was a kid, so I still have a lot of nostalgia for it. Even though if he's got 1940s dad bod. Number 3, Tyler Hoechlin. He's a really good Clark. Really, really good Clark. The only reason he isn't higher is because the other two were more foundational for me when I was younger, essentially. Number 2, I have Tom Welling because he's great. He's just great. Yeah. And number 1, I have Christopher Reeve because you can tell the amount of time and effort and just he's thought this all out, like how exactly his mannerisms are and the little hunch in his shoulders, and he's like a totally different person when he is Clark as opposed to Superman. So it's the best.
One thing I'll say real quick about Brandon Routh, and I love him as an actor. He's great.
Great actor, yeah.
Superman Returns tanked so hard.
Yeah.
They canceled the sequels.
Yes.
And Brandon Routh went from being an A-list to like a C-list.
Like almost blacklisted. He was not in a lot of stuff.
Overnight.
Yeah.
Like he went from being, hey, everybody wants him to like the best part that I can remember he's been in since then is he had a season-long run as like in Chuck.
Yeah,
like
he was in Chuck for a season.
And because Chuck, the great thing about Chuck is Chuck was just, it's a nerd show made by nerds. So they basically went, all of these nerd characters, we're going to go out and get them.
Yeah.
And like, that was probably the best part he got
and
the longest lasting part that he got.
Yeah, he had a full season.
Yeah, he had a full season. And
season 3, yes.
Yeah, it was season 3.
Yeah.
Currently in a rewatch of that. But
it's great.
Yeah,
it's a great show.
So like, if you remember, he had like a cameo bit part in like Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Did he really? I don't remember that. Yeah.
And
he also like Scott Pilgrim.
But yeah, Scott Pilgrim's probably the biggest movie he was in. And when Scott Pilgrim came out, it was kind of shat on.
It flew under the radar.
It did. It was not like, oh, look at this new cool great now and then.
Right.
As soon as it came out, it was like after it came out, it was so good that it like blew up. But
that's such a good movie. Yeah.
But that's literally like the best part that he's had since like he literally went from being the guy everybody wanted to let's stay away from him.
Yeah, just gone.
Yeah. Like that's how bad Superman Returns tanked everything.
It was just so boring.
It was
so boring.
It really was. It just
it's
not great. So as for Supermans, my number 10 is John Haymes Newton because he sucked so bad they canceled him from a equivalent to a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
After one season. Number 9 was his replacement, Gerard Christopher, because while that show was not terrible, he sucked too. Number 8, as Superman, Tom Welling. And it's not Tom Welling's fault. He just didn't get to be Superman. They kind of shit on him for Superman, and which was disappointing. Number 7, Henry Cavill, because he's sad face emo boy.
Yeah, it's wasted potential.
I hope, like we all saw the cameo in Shazam. I really hope that they go that direction with Superman and they keep Henry Cavill. Like I know that was a body. I know it was a body double. It wasn't Henry Cavill as Superman in that, but it gave it the same suit, so it gave it the opportunity to say, "Hey, we're in the same world." I hope that we get Shazam style.
Yeah,
Henry Cavill.
It'd be
Superman,
great to have.
I think that would be amazing.
It'd be great to have him back.
Number 6, Kirk Allen. Classic serial. Wasn't bad. Special effects didn't really exist at this point, so they tried to fly him around on a string and you could see the string, so they just cut all the scenes where they had him flying around on a string. Number 5, George Reeves. He is iconic for anybody who's older than me and kind of set this tone for Superman.
Yeah,
and he was great. But there's better people on this list.
Yeah.
Number 4, Tyler Hoechlin, because what I have seen of him, he's a really solid Superman.
He's pretty good.
Like,
He's pretty good.
I'm not mad at him. He does have that bright, shiny happiness to him.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Dean Cain. That was my childhood. He was an excellent Superman. He
is a good Superman.
He's believable as Superman. He saves people with a smile, and he gets to nail Terry Hatcher. So
yeah, it's pretty super indeed. Yeah.
Number 2, Brandon Routh. He had a shitty movie, but he was a photocopy of the number 1 Superman. So
he's a photocopy.
He's a straight up photocopy of number 1 Christopher Reeve.
It wasn't going to be anything else.
Brandon Routh looks such the part. If you can't have Christopher Reeve, because honestly, even if Christopher Reeve wasn't paralyzed at that point, I think he had passed away right before. I think he had just passed away, because Christopher Reeve actually was in a few episodes of Smallville.
Yeah.
Before he passed away, and I think he passed away like after season 2 or 3 of Smallville. I think it was season 3 of Smallville when he passed away. But it was right before. I want to say it was right before Superman Returns that he passed away. But even if he hadn't passed away, even if he hadn't been paralyzed, he still would have been like 60 by the time that movie came out.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So you can't really. So you had to get a photocopy of him to replace him.
Yeah.
And that photocopy was Brandon Routh, and it wasn't a bad photocopy. It was just a bad movie.
Yeah, it's just a freaking movie. Yeah.
So
mine were again, the ones I haven't seen.
1098.
Yeah, or the serial ones and yada yada. My number 7 was Brandon Routh for Superman, partially because he is a photocopy and there's not a lot to him. And if he'd gotten a chance to actually, he did later in the shows get a chance to do his own thing with it, and it was a lot better. And those, I find that movie incredibly dull, and I'm the biggest Superman fan. I can't do it.
Sure.
Number 6, I put Tom Welling, because again, he's not Superman ever, but it's still better than Brandon Routh though. Number 5 is Henry Cavill, because he looks the part. He's honestly a great choice. It just, the writing and everything was bad, and I wish he'd get another chance. Number 4, Dean Cain, just solid. Just did a good job. We're getting into the good ones now, basically. Yeah. Number 3, George Reeves. I got a lot of nostalgia for that. He did a solid job, especially for the time. Number 2, Tyler Hoechlin. How do you pronounce that name?
I don't know.
He's great. He's really good. I haven't watched any of season 2 yet, but I need to, and I'm sure it's still actually pretty solid. Or at the very least, he's still solid. So, and number 1 is Christopher Reeve, because
there's not a question.
He made us believe a man can fly, man. There's nothing like that, But yeah, that's all the movies.
So there are 16 movies that we considered for this, and we'll just shoot through them fairly quickly. Number 16 is Justice League, because fuck both versions of that movie. They're shitty Superman movies. They're bad Batman movies, and they're mediocre superhero movies.
They're the worst.
Yeah. They're better than Howard the Duck. Not more entertaining than Howard the Duck.
Yeah, that's
Howard
key right there. Yeah.
Not more entertaining. Better films than Howard the Duck, because Howard the Duck is fucking weird.
It at least makes your brain move, because you keep asking yourself why this is happening.
Yep. Yeah. Batman versus Superman, 15.
Yeah.
14, Man of Steel. Where's 13? Because 13 was a serial. It was fine. It wasn't great, but there's lots better movies. Atom Man versus Superman was the first George Reeves movie. Same thing. Super outdated. And just not great, but not bad. 11, Superman 4, Quest for Peace. Nuclear Man's dumb. Superman 3 is number 10 is Superman 3. Because it was a prior movie with Superman slammed in there.
Yeah.
Number 9 is the Superboy Show, because it's not as bad as you would think it is, but it's still not good. Number 8, Superman and Lois, right there in the middle of the pack, because they don't have a whole lot of baseline for it. Like I said,
it's good.
Saw clips, but hey, I call you if I ain't watched much of you and you're in the middle, then I call that a fairly decent win.
Oh, that's totally fair.
Superman and the Mole Men with George Reed. Oh, Superman Adam Man versus Superman was the Kirk Allen movie, not Superman and the Mole Man. That's George Reeves.
Yeah,
that one was okay, but it is old. Superman, the George Reeves movie, or the George Reeves TV show, that was fun.
Yeah, it's solid.
It's solid. It's classic. Number 5, Superman Returns, because
Can't believe we made it that high.
I know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like, yeah, no, that's a little unfair to George Reeves. I'm sorry, George Reeves. Number 4, Superman 2, solid film,
solid,
very quality.
It is solid.
Number 3, Smallville,
Mm-hmm.
because while they didn't Superman until the end, and they had some rough seasons, the spirit was always there and very
Yeah, like they it's a good show, even when it's a little rough.
Yeah. Number 2, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher, love them.
Good stuff.
And number 1, Christopher Reeve,
Superman
Superman 1,
movie.
Superman the movie.
Mhm.
You can't do better than that movie. It is a
But I want them to.
I want them to.
Yeah.
I would be happy if they just did almost as good.
If they remade it shot for shot with new people and it
With new special effects, that would be
right?
great. Yeah.
Maybe change the Lex Luthor stuff.
Yeah.
Make that a little more
No, because if we're kicking it off,
Yeah.
it's okay that he wants his real
The
estate.
first time.
Now, whenever we
That
make a
makes
sequel to it and you take your own story,
sense.
change what he wants.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
change his. All right. So
Okay, for mine, I have same deal. There's some that I haven't seen, so they are ranked low. But Snyder goes below the ones that I haven't seen because no matter what these are like,
do I need to take
it's
another
worse.
nap?
No.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna leave it be.
Okay.
16, the very worst one is Batman v Superman because that one I think is probably the most disrespectful to Superman out of all of them, honestly.
Oh, I mean, Death of Superman, one of the greatest story arcs ever written,
Yeah,
most
they beefed
impactful. They did up so bad.
They beefed everything in that movie. Sucked. It's a bad movie. It's the worst. And Superman is treated like an annoying side character as opposed to the main character. This is the sequel to his movie, and it's mostly a Batman movie.
It's Doomsday looks like a fucking Ninja Turtle without a shell.
Yeah.
From
and Batman's murdering people, and it's
Yeah,
a bad movie. 15, Man of Steel, because that's Superman's movie. It's bad. It's bad. I talked about it a lot earlier. 14, Justice League, because it's 4 hours of bad or 2 hours of worse. Then it goes the serial, the other movie, the George Reeves movie, because I actually haven't seen the George Reeves movie. And then Superboy show. All the ones I hadn't seen. Number 9, Superman 4, Quest for Peace, because it's pretty bad. There's just no getting around it. It's pretty bad. Number 8, Returns. I actually fought really hard on putting that on the bottom. But like underneath Superman 4, but number 7 is Superman 3. I honestly wanted to actually rank it higher because I like the peanut scene so much. Number 6, Lois and Clark. I liked it, but I just never got to see enough of it. That was kind of the problem. Number 5, The Reeves Show, because man, that was a huge thing for me when I was a kid, basically. Number 4, also Superman 2. It's just solid. It's solid. It's just good. Number 3, Smallville. I grew up with that show. I was at the perfect age for that show.
Stop saying shit like I grew up.
It's true. Number 2, Superman and Lois. It's really good. It's really, really, really good. It's just a good show. If y'all haven't watched it yet, watch it. It's great. And number 1 is Superman the movie, because they haven't done better than that in almost. We're coming up on 50 years.
It's 42 years.
It's 44.
Oh yeah, it's 44. Superman 2 came out in 1980.
But we are coming up on 50, and that's bad. If we don't have a good Superman movie for 50 years, something's wrong with Warner Brothers and the world and everything.
With Warner Brothers anyway, but that's a whole different discussion for a whole nother day. So
they're kind of in a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah. So that's Superman. On the screen.
That's me done ranting about that.
I hope y'all enjoyed me watching me take a nap while Chandler rants about Zack Snyder's Superman.
I'm still pretty mad about it, honestly.
What's funny is, like, we don't hate Zack Snyder. We just hate him for that.
I do. But it's for that. But now I hate him fully for it. Yeah. No, my hate knows no bounds for that man. He also said hey, why does Batman kill people? He doesn't kill people. He literally shouted at a fan, "You're living in a fantasy." And while that's hilarious, that just shows how he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
It is fantasy, dude.
However,
superheroes, you know.
However, I mean, he's made some other good movies.
Yeah, 300 and Watchmen are decent. They're all right.
Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah, actually, that one's pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
See, we don't completely hate Zack Snyder.
No, I still do.
we just hate whenever he deals with Superman.
Yeah.
My biggest thing was Watchmen was really good, and then he just he just tried to Watchmen Superman.
Yeah, he did do that,
and that
doesn't
work.
Yeah, I'm not becoming a Watchmen one either. they left out all my favorite bits.
They did leave out a bunch of good parts,
Yeah,
but it is solid. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's certainly
not about next week.
Watchmen. We could do Watchmen for a while. So we got the movie and we got the TV show, and we could talk about the failed like Terry Gilliam one too, because that one's weird. They're gonna have Kevin Costner and Robin Williams in that, and there's some wild stuff. Yeah,
I've seen a few. They've tried to make a few different. I think they tried 3 times to make a Watchmen show.
Yeah,
X-Men. I'm not ready to jump down that.
That's got to be that one would take hours.
Well, I mean,
there's so many of them.
There's not as many as you think, as long as we're not counting.
Much.
Let's see. You got X-Men 1, 2, 3,
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine Origins, The Wolverine, and Logan. So that's 7.
Yeah, and then there's
got
First Class,
Phoenix,
Apocalypse.
Well, Days of Future Past, then Apocalypse, then Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 10 movies. I mean, we did 16 movies here.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, X-Men's not an unreasonable.
No, but also it'll make me. They always start a new trilogy. And it's it's solid, and then
1 was good.
Two's pretty good.
Two's excellent. 3,
and then it just goes right down.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Origins is probably the worst superhero movie ever made.
No, that's Batman v Superman. Yeah, that's Batman v Superman.
Do you remember Origins?
Oh, I remember.
Now take your love for Superman away for half a second.
And then think about my feelings about Logan.
And then tell me that Wolverine Origins is not a worse movie.
Well, at least there's this. He is his character. His character's intact.
Yeah, but
everybody else's character's not intact, but his is.
But remember the CG adamantium claws.
Yeah. They make the weird little sparks.
Yeah,
he lights some gasoline on fire with them.
That somehow it's the 4th movie they've made with him, and they're worse than they were in the animated series.
The opening credits though are so good. The whole fighting through time with Sabretooth.
So I will say, whenever I saw it in the theater, the opening credits, I was like, wow.
It was pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. And it is going to be, and then 20 minutes later, I'm like, how the fuck are we here?
Mm-hmm.
So I promise we're not going to go into another episode just immediately thereafter this one.
I know, right? Yeah.
But
so Watchmen will be entertaining.
Do Watchmen.
I want to do Watchmen.
Or do animated Batman and Superman stuff. We have to have a little bit of we have to have a little bit of drama in this, because honestly
that one's just going to be us going, it's all really good, guys.
It's all really
special.
I love it so much.
Bruce Timm should be making everything ever, honestly.
Always.
He's a
genius and a gem, except for the 2 episodes that they did my boy Bane wrong.
I'll take him still. I'm so okay with it.
But I mean, whenever you do 142 episodes of something, and 2 of them, I complain about 2 of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, if I only have 2 episodes of your 142 episodes to complain about, we're not going to complain.
They got freaking Gilbert Gottfried to be Mr. Mixoxplitlick. That is genius.
Say that again.
Mr. Mixoxplitlick. I got this. I've been reading Superman comics forever.
I've been reading Superman comics longer than you've been alive, and I still just don't even say that word.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Mixoxplitlick. It was a challenge for me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was just like Mr. Music,
Mr. Letters.
Mr. Letters,
Can't-
Mr. Jumble,
I can't do it
Mr.
backwards.
Jambalaya.
But yeah,
Actually, Lois and Clark had an episode with him, and it was
did they really?
hilarious.
I bet that was
Yes,
awesome.
it was. It's on HBO
Nice.
Max.
I will check that. I'll check out that episode for sure.
I think
really
it was in
like
season 3. Season 3 is whenever it started to kind of. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
pretty sure it was season 3. Anyway,
Watchmen next week.
Watchmen. Okay, I guess we're ranting about Watchmen next week, which
I'll bring my copy with me. So I want to point out things that are in Zack Snyder's movie.
I'll bring my Absolute Edition.
Oh yeah, you got the absolute one. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I'll bring my.
How many copies of Watchmen you got? I think I have 4 or 5 floating around somewhere.
So
And I think they're all different
Watchmen
editions.
is such a masterpiece. Whenever I would come across somebody that'd be a friend that had not read Watchmen, I would be like, you have to read this. Here, take this.
Yeah.
And then I'll just go buy another copy.
That's what I did too. Yeah.
But
That and Mr. Miracle. I always had extra copies.
But now that I have the Absolute Edition, I think I have exhausted all my regular copies of Watchmen, so I don't keep a give it away copy on hand anymore.
I feel
Chris, I do not have enough rage in my system to do V for Vendetta.
well, that movie they kind of did it dirty.
So V for Vendetta is a masterpiece.
Great comic. It's really good.
I mean, Alan Moore and V for Vendetta the movie. While if you didn't tell me that it was based on V for Vendetta by Alan Moore, I would be like, that's a pretty fun, pretty cool movie.
Yeah.
Didn't Wachowski brothers do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they produced it.
They produced it. They did like some of the fight sequences and stuff like that. So it was in the height of the Matrix-esque style of everything from early 2000.
Yeah, they more focus on the aesthetic than like the actual ramifications of what this story implies. And like if you read just the introduction to V for Vendetta, it's basically Alan Moore talking about how he wrote this in the 80s about the future and the future is now. And it's basically that and how he literally wanted to pack up his family and run away from his home country. So that alone, none of the movie has any of that. Yeah.
And the movie is such a terrible adaptation that Alan Moore, though he didn't own any of the rights to his comics, now does not allow his name to be attached to them if they're adapted. So like that's why Watchmen, it says co-created by
Dave Gibbons.
Yeah.
Co-created and illustrated by Dave Gibbons. That's what it says in the credits. Yeah.
And does not say anything about Alan Moore because he does not want his name on it. Even
he
though
wants literally nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he wants nothing to do with any adaptation.
Yeah. Watchmen was also there's a whole thing about he was supposed to have the rights to the initial book, and then DC kind of screwed him out of having that. So he's kind of sour on basically anything that he did for the big 2 companies at all.
Yep. Yeah. And V for Vendetta, while the movie is a fine movie unto itself.
It's decent.
It is a solid action movie but it does not make you think like the book does. And
Hugo Weaving is great though.
Hugo Weaving is great. You know, Natalie Portman's not bad in it. Like there are lots of great things about that movie, but it does not relay the weight of the comic. So after From Hell and V for Vendetta, Alan Moore just was like, nah,
League of Extraordinary
Gentlemen.
Apparently that was the one that actually like killed him. Like made him stop putting his name on stuff.
So yeah, like now we could do a whole Alan Moore retrospective at some point.
We kind of could, yeah. That'd be kind of
yeah. Here's a great piece of information. Here's a great piece of literary masterpiece, and here's how Hollywood shat on it.
Yeah.
We could.
He's got a few of them that's happened.
Yeah,
I know he's a weird dude, but like that poor guy.
That poor guy. They've shit on his work so much. It's kind of
all the time. And then DC just went, nah, you're not going to get any money for it either. Ha! How do you like that?
If only he held out long enough to join the Todd father over at Image.
Well, he did some stuff at Image for them. Remember?
He did.
He wrote Wildcats for a while.
Yeah, he did.
And he wrote some Spawn too early on. And then Todd also stole his stuff along with Neil's. That's a whole thing. We're just kind of
no,
we gotta wrap this up.
Yep,
it's midnight.
We do. Anyway, so I guess Watchmen next week.
We'll talk about the movie, and we'll talk about the show, and then we'll discuss the
motion comics and the failed
Not
movie.
the motion comic. I don't
Motion
like how it moves.
The motion comic is a little weird.
But
but it is literally just panel for panel, some dude reading it. So I mean, you can't get much more accurate than that. But
we also talk about Tales of the Black Freighter.
Tales of the Black Freighter.
I really like Tales of the Black Freighter. Actually,
it's
great.
It's
a good story.
It's a good story.
Yeah, and it totally does perfectly parallel what's happening.
It does. I might actually go back and watch the Ultimate Cut. Have you the Ultimate? So the Ultimate
got
Cut,
the animated little one.
The Ultimate Cut cuts the Tales of the Black Freighter into the movie.
The guys on the newsstand and stuff.
Where it happens in the comics. So I might watch the Ultimate. Sit down and watch the Ultimate Cut.
Honestly, I'll take any reason to reread/rewatch all Watchmen stuff. Even though I'm not huge on the Zack Snyder movie, it's not bad, and it visually is very entertaining to look at. So,
and we'll talk about it more in detail next week because we could be here all night. Yeah. And both of us are going to go have a beer now.
Yes. Read Mr. Miracle, guys. That's the best. It's my sign off. I have to say it every time. Read Mr. Miracle and then read some Superman. Action Comics is really good right now.
Yep. Yeah. Action Comics is pretty solid right now.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Son of Kal-El is good.
Son of Kal-El is good. That is a good one. Yeah. He's got actually a few good books right now.
Death of Superman is
coming out. Yeah.
And then as soon as that's over, Superman's coming back to the Earth.
Yeah.
So
a little darker Superman stuff with Dark Knights of Steel too. That's pretty solid. Yeah. It's great.
It is. It is great.
Indeed. All right.
Go read Mr. Miracle.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Night, guys.
Bye.